Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you have not seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness in the highest levels of love light. I just wanted to do a little rant here, share a little bit about what's going on in my world energetically. I don't know if rant is the right word, but for those of you who have seen, for a while I was posting every day. I was posting to Instagram. I was kind of keeping up on Facebook through Instagram. I had been returning comments and really on top of it. And then out the window went all of my organization. So for those of you who have sent me requests for sessions, for those of you who have sent comments or asked questions, I am working to get through and respond in the best way that I can. For those of you who do this kind of work or work on technology is not something that I've always been very confident or we should say versed in. And so I was posting to Instagram and to Facebook through Instagram. But for those of you who know about these platforms, Instagram only allows you to post a 15-minute video. So I thought I would post through Facebook. Well, for some reason, Facebook will not allow me to share the videos that are on my phone. They're not going through to Facebook, but I can post them through Instagram to Facebook. However, most of my videos are longer than 15 minutes. Therefore, I have to do separate videos to those different platforms. In addition to that, my computer desktop will allow me to post to Facebook, but it won't allow me to post to Instagram. I can post all of the things I do through YouTube, but then I cannot share YouTube to Facebook or Instagram. And on top of that, I have an iPad that I've been working to help alleviate some of these difficulties or make the process in which I work faster, but it doesn't interface with my old Android phone. And there you have it. Not to mention all of the internet issues that I've been having as of late. So, not to mention that I usually try to post some of this through my blog and website at carrieavon.com. So it's really been very scattered for me to try to find a format where I can share it through all platforms and not be limited as to what I'm doing and make the best use of my time. Ironically, it's taking me hours to figure that out. Therefore, I have not been able to post as frequently, considering I need quiet time usually to do these videos. So that's my little rant. That's what I've been experiencing. And I think it's very symbolic of the energies in general, because I've felt very anxious this week. Because of all of that I've been frustrated with, I've really had to test my patience with myself, as well as with technology, with and then I had a Facebook with my dear sister Candace and couldn't figure out how to get onto the live. That was funny, but we figured it out. Third time's the charm. We'll see if I can figure it out again next time. So I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot about myself. I'm learning a lot about my levels of patience this week. I'm learning a lot about how to get organized, which is not something that I've ever been very, again, well-versed in. I like to create, and the creative process, I'm in a flow which is multidimensional and kind of all over the place. But that can be challenging to bring that into a linearized system. And some of us are the opposite. We have that gift of just being able to be really organized, and being multidimensional isn't something, and when I say multidimensional, that's not the right words. Some people have difficulty pulling in from multiple sources and can only focus on one thing. So I'm learning that this is all about us bridging all of that. And that's kind of the theme, right, for this entire experience. I talked about this in a video I did where I was drawing on my whiteboard, which is another thing. I would love to do more whiteboard videos, but I upgraded my whiteboard and now I have like all this stuff that sets up in order for me to be able to see it properly. Anyways, it's trial and error, right? You just don't know until you give it a try what's going to work and what isn't. So a lot of this is bridging all of these things we're not used to. We're learning new things. We're learning how to deal with new challenges, I feel, and minor, but they're time-consuming challenges. Other people have all of that going on, plus children and jobs and driving. And I do a lot of the driving and that as well. But everybody has other things going on right now that are really churning things up and creating this feeling of, how can I be patient with this right now? How can I be patient with myself? And I will say that it's really created a new appreciation for those that have got that knack, but also a new appreciation for someone like my mom, because I thought I was somewhat knowledgeable when it came to this. And I realize now why, when I tell my mom something 10 times and she doesn't understand on her phone, or it used to be, now she's surpassing me, by the way, I would get frustrated. Not everybody, let me just back up for a moment. The energies that are going on this week, and in general, are all over the place. And a lot of the incoming energies, it is demanding us more of us. I talked about this in my last video. It's demanding in the sense of, where are you going to be? Are you being present, or are you going to get pulled into frustration, anxiety? And I'm not talking about my technical difficulties, although I can certainly pull that in as well. Whatever the circumstance may be. There are many people who are riding those highs and lows of information, the information band. They're jumping on the bandwagon. And when that bandwagon doesn't take them where they want to go, they're allowing the reaction to disappointment, to let down, to, again, reaction, to kind of control where they sit. And we all do that, by the way, from time to time, I feel. So a lot of this is about us balancing and finding that neutral as much as possible so we can ride the waves. Okay, we can ride the waves when something isn't going as we would like it to go, as quickly or as smoothly. We can just figure out, take a deep breath. Where do I need to be right now? How am I feeling, etc. What I was shown, so I'm going to just go right into the next. Now that's all out. The energies that are coming in are sometimes so high, and the collective movements that are going on are so scattered, but also, let me go backwards on that just for a moment. The energies are so high that sometimes we get into this space of feeling anxious. It's a restlessness. It's a need to create, but we're not sure where to create, and we're not sure if we should go for a run, or if we should do yoga, or if we should work on our project, or if we should call our friend, or, it's very scattered from my perspective. And I think everything has been reflecting that, including the internet. Having said that, that is really, really a good time for us to go within, to take a deep breath, and to ask the question, which I've said this before, in this now moment, what would bring me the most joy? What would make me feel the most balanced? I talked about this in my last video, kind of about food, but this is more about, again, using the influx of energies that we're receiving to create, if that's what will bring us joy right now. However, if the idea of starting on a project or starting on something brings us a sense of anxiety, or we feel like we're really, it's a subtle, that's not, where we sit down to do it and we can't focus, that might be a good sign that that's not where we need to focus our energy. It might be that we just need to connect back with Mother Nature. It might be that in that moment, we just take a step back, look at the beauty all around us, and say certain affirmations, because we're aware that the energies are coming in, that those energies are being offered. And we then take that opportunity to differentiate between our own excitement, our own frustration, our own anxiousness based around our 3D or linear activities or inactivity. And then we can feel into, oh, this is a higher energy that's trying to reach in and I'm down here. And once I connect that, it's going to make me feel a little bit sometimes on edge, because it's like this inflow, right? So then when we differentiate between that, we can say, okay, I now accept and receive with gratitude all activations, upgrades, downloads, information, love, healing that the universe, my guides, my ascension team is offering in this now moment that is in full alignment with the highest levels of love, light, unity, consciousness, do no harm. I say that quite frequently when I feel these energies coming in. And then I go into a space of, thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Father, Sun. Thank you, planets. Thank you, elementals. Thank you, air. Thank you, water. Thank you, body. And I give gratitude to all of my ancestors. And just sometimes that last maybe a minute, that little affirmation, I then feel open, stabilized, grounded, balanced, present, with being able to differentiate between the energies that are coming in and the energies that I was feeling and that I was pulled into or reacting to up until that moment when I came back into a place of coherence. And it always comes back to coherence. My dear friend Kat was the original person who introduced me to heart math, had an yoga introduced me to just the connection between body, mind, spirit, breath, all of that. And all of the things that we have read since we were children have underlying truths to that as well. The poison apple in Snow White is not being in coherence. It's being the apple of our eye. It's not being in the space of it's poison, it's rotten. So we're really being invited to step back, to step inside, and to help dissolve all of this, I'm hearing, counteractivity. Because there's a lot of that buzz that's in the air. And there's a lot of buzz in the air that isn't coherent, that isn't coming from necessarily our highest and greatest good or in alignment with the highest levels of love, light, and unity consciousness. It's trying to, we'll say from a linear perspective, not allow us to connect with it. So if I'm in a heightened space of frustration and I'm on top of that because of my own personal challenges, whatever those may be, and then on top of it, I'm not really focusing on my heart and feeling balanced and seeing, am I reacting or how patient can I be with myself? That's when those little entities and attachments and stories and whatever we want to label them as hone in. And all of a sudden I feel sticky, tingly, not in a good way, right? And I go, oh, okay. I start to have negative thoughts. And that's when I really have to stop and go, whoa, who does this belong to? Where is this coming from? When did this start? Oh, well, I was feeling frustrated earlier. And then I was on social media trying to figure out how to upload something and someone sent me what I like to call a virus. And your subconscious, we may not even realize we're plugging into the stories that are going on in our social media or in conversation with others, but those little incoherent pieces of information stick in our fields when we're not recognizing that we've just perhaps given our sovereignty away to anger, shame, blame, doubt, whatever it might be. So that puts us in that spiral of just really going in circles, right? Or really being scattered. So we're all going to feel scattered from time to time. It's just a matter of recognizing where did this begin? Why am I feeling this right now? How can I navigate through this and experience it in such a way? So for me, in my perspective, I really have come to appreciate certain aspects that I didn't even think about a week ago because of all the experiences I've gone through this week. And I've also learned what a time suck technology can really be until you learn how to utilize it to help you with time. And I also was recognizing how many distractions there are, just always out there working to keep us scattered. And that's back to the linear statement I used about those beings trying to pull us off course. I say this from a place of we're in a world where that's going to happen. It's not always this place of complete sunshine and rainbows. So we could call it challenge or ability to stay in a place of coherence or to recognize when we're not in a place of coherence so that we can find that get back into that space again. From our highest capacity. It doesn't mean that our highest capacity is going to be as high as it might have been a week ago, by the way. I mean, we might be really in the crux of it. We might really be in a place of going through some deep, transformative, challenging moments. And in those deep moments, it may be harder to get back to our highest capacity. So that's another message that's been coming through is don't compare yourself to that. We're really being invited. It's helpful sometimes to say, ooh, I was feeling really good last week. This is what I was doing differently than what I'm doing now. Yes, that's a great way to use it as a tool. And that would be a good time to compare that. What I mean is by saying, well, I should be here. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I went backwards and that's just so silly of me, right? Then we go into shame and self-judgment, doubt, all that stuff. So you guys, we're really learning how to navigate in these newer energies because part of this is we've broken through the seal, so to speak. We've broken through our own membrane and we're in this higher field. And within this higher field sometimes comes, I would say, more difficult challenges because they're coming from a different type of energy than what we're used to. And I think I talked about this in my previous video. Sometimes then we fall back into that habit of going, okay, this is way too much. I just want to go back to sleep, right? And in some cases, we've already been there, done that. So we can handle it. Are we always going to be the most graceful? Not always. But can we work through that in this new space as graceful as we know how, based on the tools that we have access to right now, that we are able to see and feel and understand? Those are constantly changing. And I can't emphasize this enough just to kind of end on this note. Our tools are constantly changing and shifting. And what worked for us last week may not work for us right now, and vice versa. And next week, they might both work for us. And there may be something available to us that we weren't even aware of. Candace and I were joking right before we got on to do our live, and I'm sharing this because it's so relevant. And we were saying, she was saying, oh, I'm having these, what I was calling ahas. She said it's something else, but I have this where we think we have something figured out. And then 5 minutes later, we have an aha where we're like, oh, no. Now I have it figured out. And then we're doing something else and we're having a conversation with somebody, or we see something on that catches our eye and we have another aha and we're like, no, now I figured it out, right? It's constant. It's like, that's how it's working right now. And so I just am just sharing this with everybody just to invite you to be patient with one another, patient with yourself, patient with the internet, technology, right? And I also want to share that our creativity does piggyback off of each other. And I'm not saying that it means we should be copying one another. I've used a word this morning, so I'm going to end on this note, and this is the energy that I was seeing. I was seeing a fence, a chain link fence. I was going to draw this on my whiteboard, but I'll do that in another video. And I was seeing this chain link fence, and if you see the chains all interacted, right, interwoven, right, with each other. And then I saw that the chains not kind of welding together, morphing together, right? And so these chains were then now, instead of just wrapping around each other and kind of holding each other in place by a knot or a node, all of that through the light worker chain, I was hearing chain mail, is now opening. And it's like this living, weaving web that isn't solid. It's a breath. It's a heartbeat. And so as soon as one light worker has this aha, the other light workers that are in the same soul tribe, and I'm just using that as one perspective from my own interpretation of what I was seeing. There's many other reasons I was shown this. It ripples out and fires those synapses that were really kind of on lockdown before, or what's the right word? Held in place. Now that's moving as well. It's opened. And so many of us are piggybacking off of each other in the sense of we are triggering each other at an exponential rate. It's like all of a sudden one word, whereas before we would have kind of milled it over and been like, I wonder what that means, and looked it up and maybe played with the word. Now it's like it gives us a picture of what it means instantly, or we feel it instantly. I think Candace and I talked about that too, where she was saying, somebody will if she goes on a live, she'll hear the question before it's asked, or she'll see the picture before somebody starts talking about it. And that's happening for a lot of us. It's happening for me as well. And sometimes we don't even realize that that's happening until we make that connection. As I was talking about earlier, sometimes we don't realize that the energy that's coming in is because of the collective Schumann resonance, right? Or the blast we're getting from the sun, or the help we're getting from our ancestors, wherever direction we want to take that. The upgrades that we're receiving are making everything feel heightened. And so sometimes we're looking at it thinking that that's us, like there's something wrong with me. I'm feeling anxious. Nothing's working right. Oh my goodness. I can't figure out what to do next. And recognize that that's a double whammy. And so when we acknowledge that, it makes it easier for us to handle it, because we're like, it's going to be one of those days. You know what? I'm going to have some tea today, a little decaf. I'm not going to have that espresso. It helps us to manage and navigate that better. And lastly, what happens is when we start to recognize that we are working telepathically, we are connecting on those levels, and we are activating at an exponential rate, it isn't about us repeating what others are saying. It's about us taking what activates us and spinning it in our own vibrational frequency and form of communication. And that's what I've always talked about, which can be in artwork, it can be in light language, it can be in light language drawing, meaning not just light language spoken, it can be in energy movements, it can be interpreted through our own perspective, filter, communication, mechanics, all of that. And then we are then sharing it with our audience. And that is a reference to our hearing, right? We then connect with those others that are hearing us, because they are tuning into our frequency, and that's where we're all holding it in a different way. So I just want to share that. in love and light. Have fun creating and being patient. And there's many more videos I have to share. But that's what I've got now. In love and light, guys. Namaste.